as Donald Trump's approval continues to plummet, as prices continue to surge. Fox, which is state-run regime media, they need to cover for Donald Trump. So let's use the same old playbook, eh? Bring in MAGA Republican James Comer. Maybe he talks about, I don't know, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden. Let's talk about Hunter Biden, everybody. Here, play this clip.
What are the chances of holding them accountable despite Biden pardoning his family members?
Well, I personally don't think the pardons would hold up in court. I mean, I would hate to be the attorney who would have to argue how a president can legally pardon his entire family preemptively for an 11-year period. I mean, that's not going to fly anywhere. But at the end of the day, the ball is in Pam Bondi's court. Look, we did the investigation. We proved the Biden family took tens of millions of dollars from our adversaries around the world. Joe Biden lied about it. He knew about it. He met with every single person, even though he said he never met with any of them. And then we know, according to the IRS whistleblowers, the Biden family never paid a penny of taxes on that $35 million. So I think there's a pretty strong case for the Trump Department of Justice if they choose to go there.
Do you know whether or not President Trump is on board with pursuing the Biden family?
I have no idea. I think that's a question you'll have to ask him. I support whatever decision Donald Trump makes.
I mean, so utterly pathetic. And then you have Maria Bartiromo then brings in MAGA Republican Congressmember Andy Barr, and he says the reason that MAGA Republicans will be taking away your Medicaid is because you're lazy. That's what he says. He says, look, Americans just are lazy people who aren't working, and we got to make sure that those people are not getting Medicaid. We got to remove them from the rolls. Here, play this clip.
Coming up with the offsets. So when you look at mandatory spending, and this is the point that I've been making recently, is some of this quote-unquote mandatory spending not mandatory at all?
No, look, I mean, Medicaid is a big mandatory spending program, but what we need in this country is for the American people to get back to work.
Yeah.
Work-capable adults need to get off of the taxpayer rolls, and they need to get into private health insurance, in private employment. This is what Secretary Besson and President Trump are talking about when they say re-privatize the economy. This is good for people who are currently on Medicaid in Kentucky and around the country. We want people to not be on Medicaid.
Yeah.
We want them to have good private sector jobs that pay them more and give them better quality private health insurance.
Understood.
It's such a lack of understanding for how Medicaid helps individuals, how there's a reason why certain Americans are working or not working. It's just cruel. These are very cruel and detached people who are not tethered to reality. Here's Alina Habba, by the way. Here she is on Laura Ingraham. And here she says, look, this is exactly how we should be running the country. Exactly the way Donald Trump runs his company is how he's running the country. Here, play this clip.
It's pretty common sense. How about just work? Like, never mind essential role. That's easy. Are you working? Are you working? Are you double dipping? Are you working for another company? And if you cannot say that you are working, you do not have a job pretty much anywhere. And I hope that any boss runs their company the way President Trump is running this country. And
Okay, well, let me just take a look at Donald Trump's own financial filings from Trump Media stock, which is tanking, by the way, in my opinion. I mean, it's in the 20s right now. It's down like, 26, 27% in the past year alone. This is I'm not going to read every company that went bankrupt that Trump ran because it'll take me 10 minutes of the video, but if you want to take a screenshot of this, take a screenshot. A number of companies that were associated with Donald Trump have filed for bankruptcy. There can be no assurances that Trump Media will not also become bankrupt. It talks about Trump Taj Mahal, bankruptcy 1991, Trump Plaza, Trump Castle, and the Plaza Hotel, bankruptcy 1992, THCR, founded by Trump, bankrupt in 1995, Trump Entertainment Resorts, bankruptcy 2009. I mean, just like casino after casino, bankrupt. And then a number of companies that had license agreements with Trump failed. Then it goes and talks about Trump Shuttle, Trump Vodka, Trump Mortgage, Trump University, Trump Steaks, GoTrump.com, on and on and on, all are out of business. So I guess Donald Trump is running our country the way he runs his businesses, tanking them. By the way, what I just showed you, just so you know, that was what Donald Trump wrote about himself in his own filings. Those were the words of his lawyers about him. So let's go to Howard Lutnick, Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, who says that you don't have to worry about them they're going to go after your Medicaid, that's for sure. But when it comes to Social Security and Medicare, they say they're only going to go after people who deserve to have it taken away. Here, play this clip.
The greatest country on earth, we will not cut one penny from someone who deserves Social Security, someone who deserves Medicare. But let me tell you, all that crap of waste and fraud and abuse, that's out of here. We're going to balance this budget. We're going to drive interest rates down, and we're going to make the greatest America great again.
Now, I wonder how they decide who deserves to have their Social Security taken away. Who's deserving of that? Well, we know how they treat federal workers and believe that they don't deserve to have their jobs, and they got rid of them. So we'll see what he means by deserve. Laura Ingraham then brings on Tommy Tuberville, who doesn't know the shape of a triangle and calls a triangle a trigon. We'll play the clip.
Just going to help there. Pete Hegseth has welcomed Doge to come into the military. We have to start in the Pentagon. We need to make a trigon, 3 sides instead of 5 sides in the Pentagon. It is way too big, way over bloated. They have, 40,000 people in the Pentagon, then 100,000 people across the street in Arlington that are making tons of money. We have to cut back and do it for the warfighter. Help the warfighter build equipment, do the things we need to do. We can get the cuts, but we need to continue to do what Pete has done, is cut out all the bloat and all the DEI, get our military back to a killing machine, somebody that can protect this country and our allies.
Then you bring back on Alina Habba on Laura Ingraham's show, and Alina Habba says, well, look, when Donald Trump says that Putin is bright and really smart, that doesn't mean he's praising Putin. Play this clip.
What we have voted, the American people have voted for on November 5th. But that means that, yes, we're going to be tough, but we still want to make money. We still want to be producing. We still want to work with other countries. China's just another example. It's a lot like, Laura, when the president says something like, Putin is bright, or Putin, that doesn't mean he's praising him. That means that he is acknowledging the situation, what is good for America, what is America first. If you say we're not going to have Amazon, we're not going to have anything imported or exported with China, that's not realistic. That's not what he's saying. We want to do business, but it's got to be done the right way. And that is what the president was referring to. But of course, the spin is real, as you know.
Okay, then Alina Habba brags about how 230,000 federal employees will be fired, and she says probably more. She goes, I think we'll do better. Play this clip.
Now, Alina, do you think they'll get to that 230,000 employee number to cut? Will they go higher? What's your sense as things stand now?
Higher. Ooh, I think that we're not. I think there's. I don't know, but I can tell you that the what we've recovered and what we've seen is so clear. We're already ahead of schedule. Elon spoke to that. Right now, if we continue at this route, we hope to have a balanced budget. We hope to fix the deficit. Serious problems that have existed in this country that have not been addressed, and you have to do it quickly and swiftly. And President Trump expects us to work really hard to make sure it gets done in this administration, not in 6 years, not in 10 years.
Then we bring on Caroline Leavitt, the worst press secretary in American history, and she goes, this is transparency. This is everything that you always wanted, right? This would make Kim Jong-un blush. It will make Kim Jong-un blush. Like, what the hell is this? Play this clip.
Yeah, I mean, the Associated Press says you're restricting access to the president and you're restricting access of the free press.
It's a very hard argument to make when the president of the United States holds press conferences himself for more than an hour, sometimes multiple times a day, and takes questions from an array of journalists from outlets on the left and on the right. This is the most accessible and transparent administration in history, and anybody who just watches the television can see that, except for the Associated Press, I guess. Even a judge, a federal judge in Washington, D.C., sided with us in saying that the Associated Press or any outlet does not have a legal right to go into the Oval Office and ask the president questions. It is a privilege, and it's a privilege that has unfortunately been restricted by this group of D.C.-based journalists journalists who call themselves the White House Correspondents Association and have had a monopoly over the White House and its press access. Not anymore. Yesterday, we announced that the White House is now going to control the pool rotation of reporters who get to fly on Air Force One, get to go into the Oval Office and ask President Trump questions. And we are going to keep the legacy media outlets around because we're not afraid to take questions from anybody. But we're also going to add those new voices in the mix who deserve to be there and who are excited about the privilege of enjoying this Trump administration and asking the President of the United States questions.
Well, there's a lot to enjoy, but before...
Then you bring on Pam Bondi, Attorney General, and, you know, this is... I guess they think they're being like sly and cunning, and you know, it was announced that they were doing an investigation as part of Trump's retribution tour on James Comey, and one of the things that right-wing media is pushing is that James Comey tried to set up Donald Trump with a honeypot operation back in 2016. They always want to go back to 2016. Like, Americans want to know, why the hell are prices going up so much? Why are you destroying our economy? Why can't we even find eggs? Housing's less affordable. The job market's not great right now. You keep firing people. You know, it seems like planes keep crashing every other day, or there's some incident every other day. But they're going to some honeypot. It's always like sex with them, right? Like, they always do like weird sex stuff is how they get their people like all animated. And then Pam Bondi's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Jesse. I don't know, Jesse, what you're talking about. I mean, it's just the whole thing's so weird. I would play this clip.
We're hearing reports that there was an investigation opened into James Comey, who may have thrown honeypots at Donald Trump back in the 2015, 2016 years. Is that true?
Jesse, I don't know anything about what you're saying about James Comey right now.
Okay. That was a report.
Don't know anything about that.
That was a report that was cited in the Washington Times. I'll take it at that.
It's like a bad movie that, you know, that like it has like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, and you give it a try, but the dialogue is just so stupid. Like, it's kind of what this is. And then again, you know, as I say, they always got to go into sex and stuff like that. So here now she goes, I'm going to break some news, everybody. I'm going to release the Epstein files, but here's what I'm going to release, everybody. The flight logs. I'm releasing the flight logs. Wait a minute, you mean the flight logs that were released in 2021 that are already out there? That we have? Donald Trump's name is on those flight logs? We have them. They were in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Why don't you release the rest of all the files unredacted? Isn't that what you said you were going to do? Of course you're not going to do that, because I'm sure you're afraid that Trump's name's going to be all over him. Here, play this clip.
One of the things a lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them, and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, you know, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information. But it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well,
along with his co-defendant.
Absolutely, and he had help. That's for sure.
And then you go to Laura Ingraham, who's with her former Fox host colleague, Pete Hegseth, who's now, for some reason, the Secretary of Defense. And then Hegseth is asked about the legal cases are trying to force the administration to give more access to information to migrants. Listen to what Hegseth says.
This idea that people are being mistreated is absolute garbage.
But a federal judge stopped 3 Venezuelans from being transported here because apparently, at least temporarily, decided that it wasn't clear why they were being sent here. So clearly, the legal cases are trying to force the administration to give more information, more access to the migrants, more legal rights to the migrants, more access to attorneys, family calls.
That's what they always do. My job as the Secretary of Defense is not to worry about what the lawyers are arguing. I've got my own set of lawyers that give us the legal parameters, and we are abiding by the law completely.
Then Hegseth claims that the information that these migrants who were sent to concentration camps in Guantanamo Bay were actually not violent people. He goes, that's BS. That's fake news. We know, though, that they weren't. These weren't gang members at all. Even if they were gang members, just, I don't know, maybe you be transparent about that. Why don't we know their identities? I mean, what's going on here? Like, you should still reveal their identity. If they're gang members, then don't you want to say who they are or show it? I don't know. Here, play this clip.
Just in time for your visit here, the Washington Post has a hit piece out on this entire operation. They're basically saying that 3 of the detainees that were transported out of here last week were, not criminal offenders. They were run-of-the-mill illegal aliens, and they complained of inhumane conditions. They complained of mistreatment, isolation. Your response to that?
That article is BS. It is exactly what the Blame America First crowd will always do, which is try to characterize our efforts, try to mischaracterize our efforts in order to impugn the motives of the President of the United States and his efforts to secure the American people. This idea that people are being mistreated is absolute garbage.
But a federal judge.
And here he attacks the ACLU. Let's play it.
We didn't talk to them or interact with them, but we saw them, saw their living conditions.
And what do they look like?
It's austere. It's basic, but it's every basic amenity that you could need is provided. Medical checks, dental checks, healthcare checks, welfare checks, recreational opportunities. But again, it's austere and it's basic because it should be. You broke our laws. If you may temporarily have to go to Gitmo, and then you're going home.
An ACLU group is saying that the confinement there is tantamount to solitary confinement, which is against the UN rules on how you have to house people like this, because they only get 2 hours of outside time, outside of their cells. What do you say to that?
I say bull to the ACLU. I know what their agenda is. They want to make America look bad. They want to make our Commander-in-Chief, President Trump, look bad. These are top-notch, top-tier facilities run by professionals where they bend over backwards to make sure that medical, dental, healthcare, food, religious accommodations, language accommodations all exist. No, you're not going to have universal freedom at Guantanamo Bay. It's a prison, but they get all the time that they need as a temporary place to send them home. This is about temporarily holding high-profile, high-threat individuals who then we send home.
Now,
and then finally, you have Brett Baer asking Howard Lutnick that Wall Street is unimpressed with the Trump administration, and here's what Trump's Commerce Secretary says. Let's play it.
So I guess, although businesses on Wall Street, and you know them well, they're skeptical. Consumer confidence they look at went down 7 points in February. They see jittery feelings in the U.S. economy, and they wonder whether this is going to boomerang back on U.S. consumers. Is, I guess, the feeling. Do you hear that from businesses when they talk about tariffs?
Because Wall Street companies look at one at a time, right? If I'm importing goods and I have a tariff on me, how's that going to work for my shareholders, me? Wall Street analysts don't look at America writ large, American people writ large. Donald Trump was elected by who? A majority of Americans to do what? To take care of America. And if that doesn't work out for your particular company, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it's not so good for you. You might have to pay the tariff. But let me tell you, if you drive down our budget deficit, interest rates come smashing down. You balance this budget, interest rates in America are under 2%, right? And not by monetary nonsense. Like really below 2%. Mortgages are so much cheaper. Food costs are so much cheaper. Our farmers can sell everywhere in the world. America explodes by winning. And that's Donald Trump's objective. And that's what we're out there to try to do.
And last thing on this.
Anyway, let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. And let's get to 5 million subscribers.